In this video I will be covering a few stories from my book, True Paranormal Encounters from San Antonio and more. The stories here are just the tip of the iceberg of the many stories in this book. If you want to get the book, I'll leave a link to purchase it in the description. The following stories I will cover are true paranormal encounters and hauntings as told from my dad's perspective. Many of these experiences happened to him when he was younger, while others were passed down from family members whose stories he still remembers. He shared them with us since we were kids and still tells them from time to time to friends, relatives, and anyone willing to listen. Some of the content in this book may be disturbing or frightening. It was written to preserve and share these stories with a wider audience, many of which have never been publicly shared before. To protect the privacy of those involved, some names have been changed. The stories vary in length and intensity. Some are brief encounters, quick glimpses of the unexplained, while others unfold as longer, more chilling hauntings that linger in the mind. Whether short or extended, each tale reveals a piece of a family history steeped in mystery and the supernatural. To be clear, this is not a collection of well-known urban legends. While many of these stories take place in San Antonio and Mexico, they are not drawn from folklore. They are personal, first-hand accounts that have never been posted online or published elsewhere. The idea for this book came from my dad himself. After years of telling these stories privately, he recently decided it was time to document them all, not to glorify or promote evil or the paranormal, but simply to make these experiences known. We do not encourage exploring or dabbling in the paranormal. This book exists only to share real stories that have haunted our family in the past. So without further ado, I will begin with the story of the demon dog encounter my grandfather had in Mexico. Although read from my dad's perspective, this one came from my dad. He was driving back late at night from Piedras Negras, Mexico, heading towards San Antonio, Texas. The only light on the road came from the full moon. He was going about 75 miles per hour when he noticed something moving out in the dark. It was a massive Rottweiler running alongside his van, keeping up with him. No regular dog could run that fast. Then he noticed the glowing red eyes. The dog wasn't just running, it charged the van and slammed into the side of it. Then it did it again. My dad floored the gas, praying the whole way home. When he finally made it back, he checked the side of the van. There was real damage where it had hit. This next story is an encounter with the strange shapeshifter my dad and his cousin had as kids, also told from his perspective, as the rest of the stories in this book are. One night on the west side of San Antonio, Texas, on West Travis Street, my cousin was riding his new BMX dirt bike. We were next door neighbors, and I was standing at my front gate, timing how fast my cousin could go around the block. As my cousin took off, he came around the block and mentioned that he saw a man sitting on the curb, wearing a large Mexican sombrero and looking down as if he was sleeping. Curious, my cousin decided to take another turn around the block. This time, however, he saw a large Rottweiler sitting in the same spot, watching him as he zoomed by. When my cousin returned to where I was standing, he asked about his time and then explained what he had seen. I told him that I wasn't aware of anyone on the block owning a Rottweiler, which seemed strange to him. Deciding to investigate further, my cousin rode back to the spot and saw the man again. This time, the man raised his head, gave a wicked smile, and began to laugh. My cousin was terrified. He rode his bike as fast as his legs could take him back to our house. When he returned, he looked frightened and threw his bike into his yard. He shouted for me to run inside the house several times as he rushed inside himself. Without questioning him, I turned around and went inside. It wasn't until the next day that I got an explanation from my cousin about what had happened. This next story is one that really stuck with me. It happened to my dad's uncle. I will begin reading it now. This story I'm going to tell you was told by my uncle, and it occurred at my grandma's house. My grandma had told my uncle to start acting right and for him to start listening and stop talking back. She warned him about a dark spirit that feeds on the misbehavior of bad kids, and that it grabs you by your feet off your bed and drags you all around the floor to every room. He laughed at her in disbelief. Later that night, when he went to bed, he had a dream that he was being dragged around throughout the house. Except when he woke up in the morning, he was lying on the kitchen floor, feeling sore from his ankles and scratched up on his back. He realized it wasn't a dream. This next story is a bit longer than the others I covered here. It happened with my uncle when he was a kid. I will read it now. I remember I was around 10 or 11 years old. My younger brother Freddie had started waking up late at night to play with his toys in the living room completely in the dark. One night, I woke up to use the bathroom. As I passed the living room, I saw Freddy sitting on the floor, playing with his toys, and talking to someone. I asked him, "Freddy, who are you talking to?" He looked up at me and said, "My friend." That sent a chill down my spine, but I didn't say anything else. I just kept walking to the bathroom and went back to bed. A few weeks later, in our shared room, something strange happened again. My older brother's bed was placed against one wall, kind of in an L shape with our bunk beds. Freddy and I shared the bunk bed. I slept on the top and Freddy on the bottom. One night, I heard Freddy giggling and laughing. It scared me, but I leaned over to peek down at him from the top bunk. What I saw still haunts me. Freddy's face looked pale white, and he had a sinister, wicked smile. He was covering his mouth with both hands, then suddenly pointed one hand up right at me. I freaked out and called down to our older brother to look at Freddy. He looked over and said, "Hey, cut it out. Stop laughing." He tossed a pillow at Freddy, and just then, the stereo turned on at full blast all by itself. We both screamed, "Mom!" Our mom rushed into the room. My brother quickly turned the stereo off. We told her, "Look at Freddy." She turned on the light, and there he was, fast asleep, calm, innocent looking, like nothing had ever happened. It was hard to sleep after that. One Sunday, my mom and aunt decided to go to church and took us along. I was sitting in the back seat with Freddy. As we got closer to the church, Freddy started acting strange, upset, angry. He said, "I don't want to go to church." Suddenly, he grabbed me by my shirt and started shaking me violently. I tried to push him back and hold him down against the seat, but he felt way too stronger than a little kid should have been. My mom turned the car around and took us back home. After we got there and I was dropped off, she said she and my aunt were going to take Freddy to a curandero, a spiritual healer. A few hours later, they came back home and Freddy looked calm, like himself again. My mom told me the curandero said Freddy had been affected by the spirit of a prisoner who had dwarfism and had tried to take over his body. What a crazy, terrifying experience that was. This last story I will cover here I personally experienced along with my dad. I know what I saw that night, and it was not normal. This is the only story from the book that I myself personally experienced, and the only paranormal thing I've actually seen in person. I will tell it now. This is a story that both my youngest son and I experienced, ironically on the night before Halloween Day. Our dog, Logan, was barking furiously across the street, and he started kicking up dirt with his hind legs as if he was ready to fight another dog. I looked out of my bedroom window and saw my neighbor from across the street open his front door to see if anyone might be in his yard. He walked across his porch, turning his phone flashlight on and moving it around to check out the area. He got off his porch and started walking towards the back of his house. He walked back towards the porch, turned off the flashlight from his phone, and stared at his phone. I then noticed an extremely large dark figure crouching down to fit between the ceiling of the porch. It curved just above him, to where it looked as if it was looking at his phone screen as well. The phone's light did not seem to illuminate the figure, only him. My neighbor turned to enter his door, and the dark figure shrunk to normal size to fit through the doorway. I couldn't believe what I saw, but my son was looking out the window 2 panes down from where I was. He said, "Dad, did you see that huge shadow shrink down to size to fit in the doorway?" I said, "Yes, I did." It was crazy that my son and I both witnessed it happen. These are just some of the many real encounters from the book. If you want to get the book, a link is in the description. These stories I told, although scary and bizarre, are not even the scariest or most bizarre ones yet. While I will admit there was a few spelling errors in the book, I was trying really hard to get the book out by Halloween, all while being on a very limited budget and juggling a full-time overnight security job. All of the art that you see here was drawn by an artist on Fiverr that I had to pay each paycheck to complete new pages. My dad had originally planned for it to be an ordinary book, but I wanted something more comic book-like, something with the Tales from the Crypt aesthetic. I, however, did not know it would be so expensive to do, which is why I had one drawing per story and in black and white. The entire book took from around July all the way to around October to finish, and costed around $1,000 in total to produce, including formatting for Amazon, while the mixam version was a lot easier to create. While I did have the book out by Halloween, I was unable to sell that many copies. Only family members bought it that I am aware of. I will leave a link for both the Amazon and mixam versions, but I would however recommend the mixam version as it is a more definitive version of the book and contains exclusive author's notes. Amazon also takes a good chunk out of the money I would be making from the book as well. While all of the artwork was done by a real-life artist, there is only one image generated by AI towards the end of the mixam version of the book that was added last minute. This was because my budget for the book had already been drained by this time, and I was on an extremely low budget. And my dad had wanted an image of the house where many of the stories had occurred added to the book at the end along with the author's notes. But you can't really get mad at me for this, as billion-dollar companies do this all the time, and I was just a regular guy making $15 an hour, and my artist had already been paid well. Had I had the money to pay my artist to draw the house, believe me, I would have. And at least I am being 100% transparent with you all on this. I may or may not cover more stories from the book soon, or maybe in some YouTube shorts, so please stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, as I post weird and paranormal content every now and then. Although I would love to become more successful at this YouTube stuff, I can't do it without your support. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, the Alley Ghost.